Hi, welcome to See You Live. My name is Walker Evans. I am the co-founder of ColumbusUnderground.com. Joining me today is Mark Conti. Mark is the executive director of the Capitol Crossroads and Discovery Special Improvement Districts. Hi, Mark.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you've been tuning in for a long time, Mark's been here before. We've been talking about downtown before. This isn't anything new, but what is new is the 2022 year-end State of Downtown report that was just released fairly recently. And you are kind of the project manager, the overseer of this report.
Right.
What is your role with the report?
I do a lot of the research, gather a lot of the data, but I also have a staff that does that as well.
Yeah. Definitely a team effort.
Team effort.
Yeah. Don't want to discount any of what they do. Before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about like what the report is and what it means for downtown?
Yeah, we do this report annually to track everything that's happening downtown, try to cover all the market sectors. The big news, of course, is always about how is office doing, how is housing doing. Mm-hmm. Housing, we stand now at 11,650 residents.
Yeah.
I think we'll reach 16,500 by the end of 2025.
Yeah, I was looking at those numbers and it said there's almost 1,000 units still in the pipeline right now, like under construction.
Right.
So could even just adding that and hit around like 13,000 after those residents are moved in.
Yeah, and so those are in the pipeline now. A lot of those are under construction, and then more and more just keeps getting announced.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit, because in the year 2000, the population was like just under 3,500.
Right.
So it's more than tripled in those 23 years. Can you tell us a little bit about like what that just means, tangibly for the experience if you live downtown?
Well, every time we see an increase of more than a few thousand residents, every few years, you just feel more energy during the day and at night, and you see more amenities are available to people after 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. And so I think once we hit 15,000, you'll see an even greater level of vitality than 20, 25, and so on.
Yeah. As someone who lives adjacent to downtown for the past 15 years, my wife and I, when we would run into downtown, 15 years ago, it was sort of like, watch out for tumbleweeds because there's nobody around. And now you see people walking their dogs and hanging out and also out running. So just, there's a safety component to that too, right? More eyeballs on the street.
Right, yeah. The more people that are down here, the more everyone's going to feel safer. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's always been kind of feast or famine in downtown after 5 o'clock. So if there's a concert going on, if there's something happening at the theaters, it'll seem really busy. Mm-hmm. But then if there's not, then it doesn't. And so that's really where the residential population helps.
Yeah. With the new downtown plan, which we'll get into a little bit later, there was a goal number that was announced like late last year of hitting 40,000 people by 2040. So that's another, 17 years, another like 18,000 people. Do you think that's achievable? Is that pie in the sky?
Definitely achievable.
Okay.
We the first thing is we have tons of land that's ripe for development. We have a lot of surface parking. Mm-hmm. We can go, brand new with a lot of new housing. We still could see a lot more conversion of buildings. That's a possibility. We benefit that people have always been interested in living in downtown. That demand has never waned, even during the Great Recession, even during COVID. And then we have, the wonderful regional economy. And so with MORPC predicting that we're going to, that the region's going to go over 3 million by, I think it's 2050, certainly a lot of those people will need to be downtown.
Yeah, and I mean that's just a fraction of that audience that's being added to the city as a whole. The other stat on the residential before we move on, I think is really important, is the occupancy rate of apartments was measured at 92.5%. That means, less than 10% vacancy rates for apartments across the board, which is pretty impressive considering how new a lot of these properties are, and it always takes a minute to kind of lease them up as soon as they're done being built. We always hear a lot of people thinking that all these apartments are empty. Any insight as to why there's like this weird sort of conspiracy theory that apartments are just built and then sit empty?
Because people don't see it. They don't know and they don't care, generally speaking, what happens above the ground floor. That's what they see. So flipping that around, that's what makes these ground floors so important in all these new buildings, whether it's downtown or outside of downtown, because that's where you see the activity and that's what's going to give you a sense that something's happening in that neighborhood or not. And yeah, an apartment building can be completely full, but you might not see a soul, especially if there's nothing for those residents to do on the ground floor.
Yeah. Well, switching gears over to office, I know the office vacancy rate is, I think it was about an 18-year high, thanks COVID. The big national issue, it's a regional issue. What's being done right now downtown to sort of address those types of the office emptiness concern?
Good question. Our office vacancy rate did increase in the last year, but that was really due to new space getting added to the market.
Okay.
So we had an office building open in the Scioto Peninsula, which is still considered part of the downtown market.
Which is a pretty large building, too.
Large building, yeah. And while it did attract some new tenants to downtown, some tenants that they have relocated from other buildings in downtown. Now in the suburbs, the vacancy rate jumped a lot, and that was really due to people leasing less space. And so that's worrisome for the entire market. The more space on the market, the more rents will get depressed, and it's just a lot of space to sop up. When you're thinking about companies and how they operate today, you attract a new 100-person company. Well, you're not getting 100 people in the office Monday through Friday anymore. You might be getting 80, and you might only be getting that 80 on Tuesday through Thursday.
Right.
And so a lot of companies, I think in downtown, they're still trying to evaluate just how much space they need and how they want to configure that space. The other thing is, generally speaking, office users will lease for long terms, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I think in the next 3 years, as those leases start to expire, we'll start to see more movement in that end. The other worrisome trend is the amount of space that's on the sublet market. So somebody's leasing it and paying for it now, but they've put it up available back on the market if somebody wants to take it. And that's hitting the suburbs in a much greater way than it's hitting downtown.
Yeah.
But still, it's worrisome for downtown because it's just a lot of empty space. So if somebody's looking for space, they don't necessarily have to do that downtown.
Yeah, and it is important to talk about this as a regional issue because I think only around 10% of the regional office market is located in downtown, which means the other 90% of office space is, Dublin, Hilliard, Grove City, all around the outer belt. When you look at the vacancy that's due to remote workers in the offices all around the region, you see a lot more empty parking lots, which is kind of the status quo for the suburbs. Every Walmart is never more than half full parking lot. But downtown, it's kind of a game changer to kind of walk through on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. and see so many empty spaces. Do you think there's an opportunity that maybe there'll be more incentive to sell or redevelop some of the surface parking?
I hope so. I don't know what the economics look like exactly when it comes to a parking owner and a developer, but I'm hoping that the demand is less enough that'll make those parking lot owners think, hey, maybe it is time to finally sell this lot. Though if you look at the sheer amount of surface parking we have, I would say of the 10 biggest owners of those lots, probably 8 or 9 of those owners are looking at their sites as redevelopment opportunities.
Okay.
That was not the case 10 years ago.
Okay. Wow. So that movement has already started to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, amenities are a big thing that people talk about downtown. We have seen, like you said, a lot has changed in the past 20 years. There are more entertainment venues like Pins and, restaurants opening up, the Scioto Mile. There's people out and about, nights and weekends in a way that, really wasn't there 20 years ago. But with the downtown population getting close to 12,000, I kind of started to look at what are our sort of regional suburban counterparts, and both geographically and demographically. Downtown Columbus sits in between Grandview, which is 8,000 people, and Bexley, which is 14,000 people. I think those are the right numbers, give or take. So the one thing that those communities have, though, are more grocery stores, things of that nature. At what tipping point do you think we'll need to get the downtown population to until we start seeing more retail amenities?
That's another good question. So, there is the adage that retail follows rooftops. So as we get more people down here, we should see more retail. But there's also, I think, a little bit of a market disconnect with our downtown retail space. We have a lot of available space where maybe the landlord's charging too much. Maybe it's not built out and ready to lease. Maybe the landlord's looking for this national credit-worthy tenant that's just never going to appear, or if they appear, it's not going to be for 10 or 15 years. So meanwhile, the space stays vacant. And so I think it's important that while we continue to add the rooftops, we do need to do something, I think, more deliberate. And so thankfully, both in CDDC's strategic plan and now with the proposal from Council Member Bankston, they're looking at ways we can do master leasing of vacant retail spaces and try to attract some local, independent, women and minority-owned businesses. And then also give them wraparound support so that they have a good business plan, they know what to do for accounting, marketing, and so they can really thrive. So I think we can't just sit here and wait. I think it's good for us to go out and recruit people and make sure the space is up to par. You know, I would say a lot of landlords with ground floor retail space, I felt that they thought it was worth much more than it was before the pandemic, and I think it's worth even less now. Right.
Yeah, I mean, retail has changed all across the board with online ordering and delivery and e-commerce. So, for sure. Well, you mentioned the new downtown plan, which is an update to the 2010 downtown plan. That plan seemed to be very focused on like the 12 big ideas, so big picture, kind of pie in the sky stuff. It feels like the current plan is a little more of a scalpel approach, like block by block, you know, what needs to be done. There's a lot of infrastructure updates in there too, so road diets, bike lanes, how to incorporate the Linkus plan and what Coda is working on. What kind of things do you think are going to be the most important from an infrastructure perspective for improving downtown for the next 10, 15, 20 years?
I think the overall approach to making the pedestrian experience better, and so that does go into traffic calming, that goes to more street trees, which also has a sustainability component to it, more placemaking, more public art. So anything we can do to make the journey of walking block by block downtown better would be great. People will walk miles to go to an OSU game. In that case, it's the destination that they're really excited about.
Right.
And in here, we don't have that kind of destination, and even at OSU, they only have that a few times a year. So we got to make the journey really good and have really good destinations. We do have some really good destinations, but people just don't want to walk between them right now because the journey isn't so great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there's a lot of exciting things going on right now. You mentioned the Peninsula development that's kind of finishing up with the first phase. The new Hilton Hotel just opened with brand new rooftop restaurant this week. What are you most excited about going on downtown? Maybe like later this year, something coming along that you're really pumped about.
I would say the thing I'm most excited about is the possibility of Amtrak service.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yes. I think that'll be a real game changer, not just for downtown, but for the entire region. I think about all the attractions we have in our downtown, that some of them are duplicated in Cleveland and Cincinnati, and some aren't. And but I think it's a great chance for these folks in these other cities to come to downtown Columbus a lot more often.
Yeah.
Likewise, it's a great chance for all of us here to go to those other cities a lot more often. Do more day trips or even overnight trips, and do it with the convenience of not having to sit behind the wheel for a couple of hours. You get all that time back. And then for the traveling Broadway show, if you want to see Wicked in all three cities, this is your chance to see it really easily.
There you go, yeah. Or maybe your favorite band is coming to one city and not the other, or a comedian or something like that. So yeah, that's really exciting. It's good answer. Cool. Well, thanks, Mark, for stopping by today and giving an update on the 2022 State of Downtown Plan. If folks want to check out the, the report, if people want to check out the report, it's on the SID website?
Yeah, downtownservices.org.
Downtownservice.org. We'll include a link below the video as well. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.